Past lives and reincarnation. Amazing, fascinating subject matter when it comes to pondering the mysteries of the universe. Especially when people are first getting into spirituality, first studying new religions, first getting into their spiritual awakening, even those who have been doing it, studying it for years. It's a fascinating subject matter that we have these past lives that we could possibly tap into in this life. But at a certain point with new clients, I stopped doing past life regression work. And today I want to share with you why. First of all, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. I'm Anne Blackwood, your Silicon Valley Sage Sister, here to bring consciousness to the forefront of your daily life to make life a little kinder and simpler. Now, I want to start off by saying that I believe in the idea of past lives in reincarnation. I keep wanting to say resurrection. Don't know why. That's a topic for another day. But when it comes to reincarnation, having had multiple lives, that's something we learn about as Rosicrucians even. But when it comes to working with my clients, I developed a practice and a policy, a boundary, as one might put it, when it comes to doing past life regression work. Because as much as I believe in past lives, I also know that we as human beings, when we're trying to heal or before we've started the healing process, have a tendency to push our traumas, emotional distress, emotional wounds off onto other things to distance ourselves from it. So I started to notice this trend that I had already noticed before I started working with clients, but especially when I started working one-on-one with clients, I started to notice this trend of people who really wanted to heal, but having not done any of the current life real healing work, they all really wanted to get into this past life regression work because they were pushing their current life's trauma off onto their past lives. This is something I had noticed from the beginning with people who were really into getting into these past life trauma work things. Naturally, as human beings, we want to distance ourselves from the things that harmed us. At the same time, we naturally want to heal from the things that we felt harmed us. So it's sort of this cognitive dissonance, the proper way, oh my goodness, tangent for a moment. People use cognitive dissonance these days and it drives me berserk because the way we use cognitive dissonance in psychology, at least the way I was taught, we use it to describe two things that contradict each other, pulling you in both directions at once. So what I've noticed with people who are just getting into spirituality and just getting into their healing work, their shadow work, especially when they haven't had a lot of experience in doing any sort of mental health healing, and especially those who have had a decent amount of emotional distress in their lives or even trauma, they have this tendency to want to, rather than admit to themselves and work on what's harmed them in this current life, they try to push it off. They try to put that distress and trauma off onto something that happened in a previous life so that they can distance themselves from the trauma while still attempting to heal the trauma or mental distress. But in the end, as much as this sometimes can feel like a gateway to healing, it does a disservice to those that are often trying to do it this way, because though you are starting to heal, you are also lying to yourself and to the person who's trying to help you heal. So the faster we can get honest, the faster we can connect with the truth that is, this pain that I'm experiencing came from emotional distress that I experienced in this life, the sooner we can actually get to the good healing. So I ended up making it a policy for myself that I would not do past life regression work with people who were just getting into their healing journeys. Because even if I have a client who's, say, been doing spiritual practices for many, 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 many years, I will at the very least have them take me through their current life before we can start addressing any sort of concept of past lives. Because, like I said, I came to find it wasn't helpful. It wasn't actually helpful to them. If anything, it pushed them farther away from the ability to actually heal, because even though they were attempting to heal the wounds inside of themselves, they weren't being honest about it. And that is something that's very important when it comes to being able to heal past emotional wounds, is getting honest about them. So as much as I believe in the concept of reincarnation, and that we all very well have had probably many past lives, how that actually works is still up for debate. There are many theories when it comes to reincarnation. Some people believe that we reincarnate into different bodies throughout time. Some people believe that we reincarnate into the same life over and over again. So, you know, there are many different ideas behind how, I keep wanting to say resurrection. There are many, many different ideas as to what reincarnation actually is. And at the end of the day, like I said, it just, the sooner we can get to the fact of the matter, which is that we, in this current life, in this current body, have stresses and traumas and distress that we have to address to heal, the sooner we can actually get to the healing. Otherwise, we are creating delusions for ourselves, and very well could be projecting current life trauma onto our past lives. That's another reason why I make sure that we go through all of the current life's distress before we even remotely touch the idea of past life distress. Because often in the cases where I did do some past life work with people before we had gotten to all of their current lifetimes distress, 100% of the time, there was distress that was being projected onto this idea of a past life. They weren't even really past lives that they had experienced, or they were, you know, maybe little resemblances of it, but the distress itself that they were projecting onto that was purely this life, and they hadn't experienced any of it in the life that they were tapping into. And so, you know, it's very, very important, I find, for the healing process to make sure that we've dealt with all that this life has to offer us in terms of horrors and happiness before we start delving into untangible concepts such as reincarnation and past lives. That being said, I have had clients where we get very quickly into doing things like past life regression, meditations, and sessions, because they have done a lot of healing. And so we can get through that quickly enough. I can do my wellness inventories quickly enough with them of this life that we can start delving into things like that. But not before we've addressed this life, because we don't want to be distancing ourselves from the healing we could be doing by finding ourselves trying to dilute it in delusion. So yeah, thought I would share that with you guys today, because I do believe in the concept of reincarnation, and I don't know much about it when it comes to what I would say I am certain of. And as a Rosicrucian, we are not permitted to share many of our teachings with people outside of the order, in terms of specificity especially. But I felt like it was important to talk about this, because all too often there are things we can do in our lives that, like spiritual bypassing. It's a form of spiritual bypassing where we use spirituality, or anything else for that matter, to hide ourselves away from the harm that we've experienced, and dealing with the harm we've experienced in our lives. We have all of these coping mechanisms, and I wouldn't say outrightly that any coping mechanism is bad, but we do have, as I say, we have good and bad learned instincts. We have good and bad learned coping mechanisms. And, projecting one's current life's trauma onto past lives is a delusion, and that's not helpful at the end of the day, because at some point you have to get to the truth of the matter, and the sooner you can do that, the better off you are. And by projecting it onto a past life, you're actually getting farther away from the truth rather than closer to the truth, which means you're getting farther away from healing than you are getting closer to healing. So yeah, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That being said, if you would like to see me do a video on reincarnation from the spiritual perspective, I can get into some of those other things that I talked about, like the different ideas of reincarnation. If you'd like to see that, I would be happy to talk about some of those things, past lives and so on and so forth. So just let me know in the comments if that sounds like something you would be interested in. Otherwise, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I'm getting so close to that custom URL. I just need a few more subscribers, guys. Don't forget, if you like this video or any other video you see, don't hesitate to share. Don't forget to check out the links in the description. I have many, many links in the description, including my one-on-one, my Patreon, the link to dōTERRA if you like to replace all of those synthetic chemical-based products in your house and in your life with natural plant medicine. dōTERRA is your one-stop shop to do that. And I mean everything. Everything, everything, everything. I also have the link to dōTERRA Witches down there, which is this amazing group that I am a part of where we do all things dōTERRA and witchy. We have a full moon gathering we are planning for this next full moon. All sorts of other links in the description, so definitely go check them out because you don't want to miss out on many of the things that I got going on down in there, including my Instagram, where I share something every day different from what I share here. So if you're on Instagram, definitely go check out the link to my Instagram. And yeah, may the energies you serve you well. And let's keep making our way through. I am, so I know you can too.